50 days to 50, a transformation worth its weight in gold. I've been having some conversations with friends to get a little bit of perspective on my life at different times. So super excited to bring to the stage my homie, Valerie. No
No last
government.
name.
No last
It's the
name.
most common last name in the United States.
So cheering there for you. What's going on, homie? How are you?
I am well, just hanging in here in these Philadelphia streets on this rainy day.
I feel you. I feel you.
Going
So
on?
I'm so glad you decided to do this. I would love to just talk about Ben. I feel like we've known each other for so long, but like I
It's
remember when we first met.
your birthday is lightweight, the 30th anniversary of our meeting. If you think about it, we met in '94.
Wow. And so that was like a year after I moved to the US. So like I always say like you're my first American friend. That's not the word I use. But
From
so,
being
so let's so let's talk about that first meeting. When tell the story of when we met.
Well, I finished grad school and was doing some. What was it? I was doing some volunteer work and just wanted a job to just pay some bills and for fun. Um, and I applied and started working at the same shoe store as you did. And, I tend to be pretty easygoing and easy to get along with. And, I can't recall exactly our first meeting, but I know I probably didn't feel as though you really liked me.
How everyone feels.
So it took a minute to get past that tough exterior. And then, who knew, one Greek picnic later and we'd be fast friends in the summer
Right.
of 1994. So, yeah, you definitely were probably lightweight, intimidating, maybe not so much intimidating, but just, maybe a little reserved, a little less than
Caribbean.
open to new
A little
people.
Caribbean.
I don't want to say that that's cultural, but if you want to, I've also met
It
other
is,
Caribbean.
it's one of the things I come to understand, right? Because I look at my mom as well too, and she's not that she isn't approachable, but there is a, you know what I mean? There's a guard up, right? And at that time, I'd only been in the country a year, right? And I was going through my balancing act of trying to figure out, So I think a lot more maybe reserved, and then kind of seeing like, all right, cool, who's this new girl? What's she doing? And then I think you had the day off that was like, how does she have this day off for the Greek?
I sure did, because I know how to negotiate when I get a job to make sure that the time that I've already planned for is going to be accommodated upon my hire.
You did. So it was just like, how does she have that day off?
I knew this back when I was 23.
Right.
Make sure the time off is secured. PTO means prepare the others.
Hilarious. But after that, I think we just became like fast friends. And I remember it was crazy,
how many
right? Because I was
spent at your house overnight, food ate, meals prepared,
Right. My parents loves you.
Goodness.
You know what I mean? Like you were just like family. And then you have that Southern background, so you really have that. You know what I mean? That warm background where you're just like so approachable. And I think it was just like, wow, like we know her. She's almost Caribbean. You have your passport, right? We gave you your passport very early. You've been to Trinidad.
I have.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And one of my best times was because I went with you, which was probably the travel experience I'd been waiting for in terms of my travels to Trinidad.
You know how we do. During that time, just watching the last, 30 years, right? Because we've been friends for 30 years now. I mean, you've had a kid, like all the things, we've been through all the things together.
Marriage, divorce, kids. Absolutely.
Life, right?
Life.
I know we have a bunch of funny stories, but there's one specific story that I think you should absolutely tell. That time you got me fired.
Taking accountability might not have been something you've learned yet, but I'm happy to have been part of the experience that caused you to lose that job. And I think, one of the things that you exposed me to, that I've always been thankful for is Caribbean culture and the idea of that all night till the break of dawn fete that we were kicking it in Brooklyn, getting it in at one of many parties that lasted to the break of dawn.
Right.
Corn soup after, like, me learning the techniques so that I too could whine like
Right.
And I also remember, like, I think before the day, just sitting out like on the step. I forget who we stayed at. We stayed at someone's.
It was Dom and Tony's, actually. So we were on their in Brooklyn.
I just remember sitting out on the stoop. And I mean, I'm not from New York or Brooklyn, but I tell you, in those moments, I wish that I was. But the next day, we needed to get back because we both were scheduled to work. And I think it was that maybe we thought we were scheduled at the same time, but maybe you were actually scheduled earlier than I was. So I was on time. You, on the other hand, were not on time. And I believe that this was maybe not your first experience with lateness at this establishment. And so
I was all relative, okay?
I mean, I think we learned that punctuality was important a little later on in life. But in that particular instance, your lack of punctuality after maybe some other instances are what led to your termination.
Well, but I also felt for being the number one salesperson that I should have been given some.
100%. Perhaps some consideration should have been given for how good a salesperson you were. I mean, I was definitely envious of Tamara's hair approach and rate of success.
Hair approach presentation at 9 West was spot on all the time.
But sometimes the powers that be just want you to get there and get there on time. I don't know. But yes, you were a great salesperson. You were a great
salesperson.
I know. Still are, I'm sure. Still are, I'm sure.
It's one of the things I've leaned into very well, and I am more punctual now. And I set meetings that are realistic timeline.
Life lessons. These are the life lessons.
Yeah, I don't have a 9 a.m. meeting. I have meetings that start at 11 on 2 days, and sometimes I'm not partying anymore, but I'm sometimes working till dawn. Getting stuff done. So it's really about and I think. For me, it was always those rigid rules were always a little bit of a, I was like, what? Like, I'm the number one salesperson. There's no, can I speak to the manager? Like, shouldn't I be? Your numbers will go down with
his name, ironically, was Karen.
Right? Look, shouldn't I get special treatment? I'm special in my country.
It's an argument worth making. For sure.
It's just always an argument. I'm like, but I know, but everybody else is not me. And so I always felt like I was in those situations explaining why, or just kind of being like, like these are the rules that apply to everyone. And I'm just like, but I'm exceptional.
This is how you found yourself to be an entrepreneur. Like, I think I learned early that working for someone else wasn't going to be your lot in life. It's just not who you were meant to be. There was a certain tenacity and a determination, to do your own thing. And look at you. Here you are.
Look at me now doing my own thing. No, I look back on 9 West, and I mean, it was a good time. The 3-pair presentation, I still think about it. And yeah, you're right. It was not. I was definitely meant to do something different. And, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you as a friend also kind of just understanding and knowing and going with the flow. And, also you've been like, I remember when I moved to New York, one of the greatest things, for me was when I moved to New York and how you held my parents down, right? That for me has always been something that I look
Oh
back
my
on. And,
goodness.
you like,
You've been a sister to me, real talk, for the last 30 years. We're
I
not
appreciate
just friends. And
Yeah,
your parents were my parents.
yeah,
Your mom was my mom, your dad was my
yeah,
dad, as far as I was
yes.
concerned. And
I
if you couldn't
appreciate
be
that.
there for them, I absolutely could. And
Yeah.
it was an
No,
honor.
no, that was really dope. So it was just like, coming to this country and meeting a friend like you a year later and still having that friendship is, super solid. And I mean, it's, oh my God, you're making me warm and fuzzy inside. I'm feeling things.
I do. I do sometimes.
I'm like, let me not feel too much. But no, as I embark on 50, and I know, you've been there, I wanted to celebrate some of these things. I wanted to celebrate some of these moments, people like you, and, just kind of, gain some of that, insight into where I have been in the past. And I guess one other question I'd ask is, what is that trait that you think that I embodied then that I transitioned over into the business?
I think, like I said, the that tenaciousness, that determination, even in the 3-pair presentation, like, a lot of why it was probably successful is because you were determined to convince somebody that they needed 3 pairs of shoes. And you know, who doesn't need 3 pairs of shoes, right? And so I think that's always been, a thing. Once decided there was something you wanted to do, were going to do, you just figured out how to get to there, whether it was getting your degree, whether it was, starting your own business. I think that there's a level of determination that you have that is how you've managed to succeed in the ways that you have. I think I'll also partner that with you've always also been somebody who's been able to make the best out of a situation, always managed to find a way to have fun. And I think that when there's determination behind that, it's always going to be a good time.
Mm. Oh, Valerie, no last name. You are making me warm and fuzzy, and the people are
I
wanting to.
am forever your Johnson. That is.
I love that. I love that. Well, I appreciate this so much. Thank you for taking the
Oh,
time.
you're welcome. So much love over these past 30 years has been exchanged. And,
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
I've been blessed to have you as a friend and, have been happy to see you thrive in the ways that you have.
Oh, Valerie, you're so sweet. You're always so sweet. Valerie's
I'm
like
also
the
so glad to see you because, this might be the only chance I get to really see you before your actual birthday. And so,
right,
um,
100%. Yeah, definitely. We got to do something. And
your
Valerie's always
face.
a great presence, great thinking. She's very
Oh,
thoughtful, super thoughtful. So it's always a good time. And she is straight party girl, will party till the break of dawn. You don't have to worry about her. She's
still
hanging
can.
in there.
Just saying.
You're like, good? And she's like, I'm good. So
You
I
good.
appreciate that.
Still good.
I appreciate the last 30 years, and I look forward to our next 30 years of friendship. It's been awesome. So thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate and love
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome. Love you.
Take care.